Hello, Leslie. Good to be with you, and I really appreciate you giving confidence or having confidence in me as we move forward with this. I promise you, after a month, you will not only look better, you will feel better and feel more like life and living it with enthusiasm and passion as much as you do right now. It will increase. That said, you're here to understand and learn some things in regard to fitness. And what I'm going to do today is share with you actually two routines, but I will do each movement with both the dumbbells I mentioned to you, the 5-pound dumbbells, and a resistance band. As we move forward, I'm going to ask you to do this one thing. Do one of those on one day, and then the next session you do with the other. In other words, one day you do dumbbells, the next day you do resistance bands, and you can do this either every other day, or initially, if you really are enthusiastic and want to move forward faster, then you can do it every day, but no more than 5 days a week, okay? First thing we're going to do is measure where we are, and this will be something that I want you to put down on paper and then put away at least for a month, all right? And don't pay attention to it or don't do it again. Don't pay attention to the scale either, because the numbers there will be somewhat misleading as we move forward. Now, that said, what we want to do is measure. And what I want you to do is just take a tape measure and go around your shoulders at the widest part, pull it together, look at the number, jot it down. Next measurement is for the chest. Around the middle, the bust line, jot it down. Next is the waist at the smallest part, and for a lady, it generally is right about here, just under the rib cage. And then a bigger number, and both of them are important, is right around where the navel is, okay? Jot both those numbers down, and then take the measurement from your hips, jot that down, and lastly, a measurement for your thigh at the largest part of the thigh, and measure those, or measure a leg. Put those away. And the first thing, always you do before doing any resistance training, either with bands or dumbbells, is warm up. If you've got 7 minutes to train, use 3 of them to warm up. And I promise you it will keep injury down, and that will, over the long haul, give you much better results than jumping in without taking this warm up. I wish I'd have taken this advice years ago myself, but regardless, what we do is just start with our neck. When we move forward to, or just lower your chin to your neck and roll it around real gently. Do this 7 or 8 times and then reverse. Now, take the chin down and look up. Down and up. Down and up. 10, 12 times. Then take the chin, left shoulder, right shoulder, left shoulder, right shoulder, left shoulder, right shoulder. Now, what we're going to do is warm our rotator cuffs up. It's one of the most tender parts of the whole body, and since everything we touch with our hands incorporates the rotator cuffs, we want to make sure that the blood is flowing there before we lift any weight, okay? So what we do is just take our hands here, real gently, in big circles. Let me see if I need to grab that. Don't change. And I don't. Let's move forward. Round and round. Now reverse. Now out to the sides. And reverse. Now this one is a little tricky, but it's a great movement for loosening up the rotator cuff and getting the blood flowing. All we do is take our hands, put them down by our sides, and now in a big circle, I want you to take your hands and cross them in front, and then as they go up, turn them to where the palms are facing the ceiling and your head is looking up. Now, Leslie, when you get here, watch my thumbs. I want to turn my thumbs down toward the floor, okay? On each one of these movements. So it's a big circle, and turn the wrist down with the thumbs moving toward the floor and back. 10, 12 times. I do this myself before I ever train on any session. All right? What we're going to do today is a full body workout. We're going to incorporate our bust line, our back, our shoulders, our triceps, our abdominal area, our legs, and our buttocks. All right? And we're going to do it all. This video will take a whole lot longer because I'm going to explain some things than what the routine will take in time. It won't be more than 15, 20 minutes max, okay? So that's all we're going to invest, and just trust me on the process, Leslie. That may not sound like a lot, but if you do the movements right, you'll get the most benefit for the least amount of effort. My whole thing is maximum results in minimum time, all right? So the first thing we're going to do is for our bust line, and I'm going to do it first with the dumbbells since that's what you have today, okay? And I'm going to be using a bench, but you don't have to have a bench. You can lie on the floor, all right? Movement is the same, but it's called a dumbbell fly. And we take our dumbbells and take a lying position, and here we never touch the dumbbells together. We start right here about 6 to 8 inches apart, and we go down and back up. Very simple movement, but notice the cadence, and the cadence is a movement down, the time in the cadence, or the time in the movement down, turn around and back up. So it's called a 3-1-3 cadence in what we're going to do today. We'll change this from time to time, but it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Not 1, 2. We're exercising the muscle, and we want to activate the fibers. That's what we're doing, and burn calories, okay? So the movement again is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3. I asked you to get 5-pound dumbbells. This was a guess on my part as we start out, Leslie. You may need a little less, maybe a little more, probably not. But the goal here is to have fatigue start in at about repetition number 10, 11, or 12, okay? Now, if you can go to 14 or 15, that's fine, but it's time at that point to go up in weight. If you can't quite get to 10, you don't have to go down to 3-pound dumbbells. Do 6 to 7. In a week or two, you'll be up to the 10, 11, or 12, all right? That said, the movement with the resistance band, and once again, as we talked on the phone, you've got, coming at least, a resistance band that gives you different resistance depending on the band, and interchangeable handles. The reason for that is the different movements will require different resistance because obviously the legs are stronger than the back or the arms, all right? And as you grow in strength, you'll be changing these frequently. But for that movement that we just did with the resistance band, it's very simply taking taking the resistance band, putting it on your back, and then lying down, and it's the same movement. Now this resistance band is too long for me to get the resistance I'm wanting. So what you do, if that's the case with yours as they come in, is very simply tie a loop in it, make it shorter, and obviously lying on that knot is not going to be comfortable, so you may want to put a towel on top of that if in fact you need to do this with your resistance band. We will do 2 sets. A set is anything you do a number of repetitions in. So if we do 10, 11, 12 repetitions, that's 1 set. Do that, rest 45 seconds, and then repeat both these movements. Now, again, 2 sets when you're doing the dumbbells, 2 sets when you're doing the resistance bands. I'm sharing with you 2 different routines as we move through this process today. Next on the agenda, routine, is back, and it's all of the area under here and in the back. And for the dumbbells, it's a simple movement, but you take a stance, and if you have a chair, of course, I know you got a chair, but I'm saying if you want to use a chair rather than a bench, it works equally as well. And what we do is take a hand, put it here, step back from the chair, and take the dumbbell, let it hang from your shoulder all the way straight down to the floor, and pull back, not to here, Leslie, but to here, your hip, okay? This activates more muscle, which is our goal, than just going straight up. A lot of what I'm going to share with you is different than what you'll see people do in the gym. I base everything I teach on science and 50 years of trial and error. So, again, the cadence with our movement with the dumbbell is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Until fatigued, hopefully the 5-pound dumbbell again will give you 10 or 12 repetitions, and that will cause mild fatigue. We will get a little more strenuous as we get further into our program in 2-3 weeks, all right? For the resistance band, all we do is take our chair or bench, wrap it around our feet, and depending on the length of your resistance band, you may want to loop it on 1 foot or 2, but we now simply take palms down, pull up to our bust line, and back down. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Don't forget to breathe. I'm always amazed when people start into moving and exercising that they won't breathe for 3 or 4 repetitions and they go, so don't forget to breathe from the first repetition. And it doesn't matter whether you breathe on, the positive or the negative, but most people like to breathe out on the positive and in on the negative. Okay? Chest, bust line, back. Now we're going to do a movement for our shoulders, deltoids. Deltoids have 3 heads, 3 separate areas of muscle, front, center, and back. This movement will give you activation for all 3 and the tricep. And a lot of ladies really like something for the tricep and to tone it and shape it, because most, not just ladies, guys too, when this gets loose, it becomes real flabby, okay? This is called a dumbbell press, seated press. And what we do is take the dumbbells, hold them in our hands here, down to the shoulder, and go straight up. Now the tendency, and when you see people do it, and even some people teach it, but I'm going to ask you to do it differently than the way you see people do it, is to take the dumbbell and come up over the head and down. When we do that, we take the resistance off the targeted muscle. That's the biggest thing in the form, in everything that we're teaching here, is to keep resistance on the muscle throughout the movement. And that's the reason we don't rest at the bottom or the top. Another thing I want to mention, we never lock out our joints, either our knees, our hips, or our elbows. And a lot of people will do this, lock it, and come down. You don't want to go all the way and extend to a lock. You want to go right about here, see the bend in my elbows, and straight down. In other words, think about a goalpost, football field, a goalpost. And all you're doing is going straight up the goalpost and straight down. One, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 2 sets, 10, 12, mild fatigue. All right? Same movement with the resistance band. It gets a little tricky until you get used to it. And that is, you can do it seated if you want. Take the resistance band, put it under your feet, and now take your hands and turn them to where the palms are facing out and the back of the resistance band is against your wrist or in back of the hand, okay? It's the same movement. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now notice here at the bottom, Leslie, I don't stop. okay? As soon as I get here, I start back into the next repetition. It's constant movement for the entire set of 10 to 12 repetitions. I'm repeating a lot of this, so hopefully you won't have to watch this but once or twice. And initially I would ask you to follow along with me to make sure all the movements are right. But after 1 or 2, 3 times, you'll have it. And we will be talking later on this week in regard not only to the routine, but your nutrition, all right? So we've done chest, we've done back, shoulders. Now what we're going to do is something for area that all ladies and guys too want to have toned and trimmed. That's our thighs, back of our legs, and buttocks. It's a very, very simple movement, and initially it may be a little difficult, but I want you to be patient with yourself if it is, and do everything as best you can. I was working with a guy the other day. He started with me. He's 305 pounds. In like 2 weeks, he's already lost 15 or 20 pounds, and he said he had not done this movement in 20 years, that he couldn't do it. And forget his name now, but let's say Frank. I said, Frank, do what you can, and then it will improve over a period of days. It's a squat. It's the best movement in the world for your lower body, okay? We're not going to use any weights. We're not going to use any resistance bands. All we're going to do is place our feet about shoulder width apart, all right? You can do anything you want to with your hands. I generally, when I'm doing, I call these air squats, no weights, just fold my hands across my chest. And we come down and back up. Now, notice here, and this is something, all of this you will have to determine for yourself, Leslie, since I won't be physically with you, all right? As far as the number of repetitions and so on and so forth. You'll have to determine for yourself whether or not you can go as deep as I'm going to ask you to do, okay?
Step back just a little bit if you can, because I'm not getting you.
I was just told that I'm not in the camera, so thank you, Betty. And now, is that better?
Yes.
Okay. What I want to show you, Leslie, is this, the depth of the squat. Ideally, but don't hurt your legs or your back or anything else. But ideally, what you want to do is come down past parallel with the leg very deep. The deeper you go, the more activation of the fibers you will have with the back of the legs and especially the buttocks, okay? So ideally, what you want to do is come down, and this is parallel, below parallel, and then back up. If you can't do that, no problem, okay? Just come down. If this is as far as you can go, that's as far as you go. But it is a cadence of 3, 1, 3 again, and we're here, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Once again, we don't lock our knees out, because every time we lock a joint, number one, it's not good for the joint. Number two, we're resting, and we're taking the resistance away from the targeted muscle. So we're going here, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. As soon as it gets here and my knees are still bent, I begin the movement again. Now, you may not, and I will be surprised if you're able to get 10 or 12 of those the first 2 or 3 times that you try this, okay? If in fact you go, well, I've got knee problems, I cannot do that even as much as the least amount you showed. Very simply take the resistance band, okay? Sit down in the chair, tie it around and tie it. Wrap it around your feet, okay? Now pull back here, and with one knee. Hey buddy, say hi to Leslie. This is my ever-present companion, Skipper, a rescue that actually came to our house, and he rescued me. So anyway, what we do is take here, go out and back. Pull it in as far as you can, out and back. 3 seconds, 3 seconds, okay? Now then, last of all, but very important, what we're going to do is work the abdominal area. And this is something that everybody wants to do, but a trim waistline, Leslie, and you know this, but I need to say it, is made in the kitchen, not in the gym. It is important to have toned abdominal area and obliques because that allows us to have good posture and pull or hold all of our insides in, which is the way God, intended for us to use our body. But this is one movement that does miracles. And I was working with a lady, been a few months ago now, and she had some severe osteoporosis and other skeletal problems, so I had to be very, very careful with her. And she initially was really struggling with what I'm about to share with you. But in about 3 weeks, she really surprised me and she was proud of herself, and I'll show you what she was able to do. That said, the movement, sitting in a chair up to the edge, okay? Lean back and just take one leg. Now, not here, okay? This is something that a lot of people do initially. Don't start down here. Start up here, pull the knee up and out. Up and out. You will feel tension all along the abdominal area here and on the sides or the obliques, okay? We do one leg until fatigued. Simply go to the other leg, repeat. Toe pointed and out. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay? Now, what my friend did, Belinda was her name, in about 3 weeks, and she struggled with what I just shared with you. But in about 3 weeks, she said, Warren, I want to show you something. And I told her she would get to this point relatively quickly. But what she did, she leaned back in her chair, she raised her feet up, and did both of them at the same time for about 10 or 12 repetitions. And I was thrilled for her. She still, by the way, is engaged with me in training. She's loving what she's doing. She actually had me train her husband as well, and he was just enthralled with the improvement he made. Said that to say this, that's what I'm looking forward with you. And I think I mentioned on the phone my friend who was going to Kabul, Afghanistan. And I talked with him this morning. Long story short, he started with me at 298 pounds. He had to get his weight down to 235. He had to run 1.5 miles in 13 minutes and 45 seconds. Do 50 push-ups, 50 sit-ups, and shooting range. I didn't help him with the shooting, but I helped him with everything else. Long story short, in 4.5 months, he hit his goal weight, and he just ran his 1.5 miles. He is going to the embassy in Kabul, Afghanistan. He told me this morning, September the 9th. So, great success story. I'm looking forward to that success story with you. We will talk. Please go through this, jot down any questions, and we'll go from there. And I will be sending you this momentarily and your nutrition in just a bit. Thank you. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon.